Hey there friends, Nibs again. I'm out in the garage tinkering around tonight and thought you guys might find this interesting. I am working on, this is one of them, but I've already repaired this one. This is the Acro 1, Ampell Acro 1. This is the 177 version, still holding air. I think that's the second, well, the first one I put in there when I unboxed it a week ago, that one, it bled off in like an hour. I got a couple good shots off with it anyway before that bled off, but put another one in there and I got like probably 50 shots out of that CO2 cartridge, and that's the second one. I just put it in there the other night and it's still doing pretty good. But bring you down to the tabletop here. I just did a mail call unboxing for this one here. This is my newest one, and this is actually, let's see here. Get that on camera here. That is this one's the 22 caliber version, and it's marked right here on. This is actually the front sight and basically like the crown for the muzzle. But the problem with it is this is where the CO2 cartridge goes in and gets punctured, and that seal is exactly the same as what was on the 177 version, and it just completely dry rotted and causing it to just bleed out and leak out. So I'm not gonna keep you on while I'm doing this, but I gotta dig out all of that material. I've already cut a washer here that I can put in there in its place. The same thing I did with that one there, and so it should work pretty good. So I'm gonna cut this off while I move around this, because it'll take 10-15 minutes to probably get that all cleaned out real good, but I'll bring you back on when it's time to start putting this thing back together. Alrighty, so I'm back. So there we go. I got the old seal picked out of there. That was quite a chore. You got to be really careful around that piercing nozzle, because if you break that off, you're done. Oh, my little house of cards is collapsing in on me here. Stuff off to the side for now. I'll put it back later. So I like this Super Lube synthetic grease. Really does a great job when you're reassembling stuff, keeping things moving and doing like they're supposed to. So one of the other things I did with the other one, because I had put that new seal in there and then I put it back together and it was still bleeding air, and I took it all apart farther. So this is the actual shot valve that goes up inside of this piercing valve here, and what I found was little particles of that red seal had flaked off and gotten down inside and was causing to not get a good seal on the shot valve. So I preemptively took this one apart so that it would be clean when I put it all back together. But I cleaned it all up real good. This particular seal is still got some suppleness to it, I guess you could say. Throw just a little bit of grease on there, mainly around this outside, so when it slides in there it doesn't cause any kind of damage to it. And there's a little itty bitty roll pin that goes in there, so, but there's a hole in the top of this valve and it has to line up with the hole in the top of this body here. Oh, can't forget the spring, so there's a little bitty spring here that goes in here, and that's what pushes the valve back shut after the hammer hits it. So we'll get this back together. Okay, I forgot to get it, but let me, oops, sorry about that. So what I came up with to recompress this, because you have to compress that spring and hold it so you can get that roll pin back in there. But what I ended up doing was I've got this little tiny quick clamp, and I take a 4.5 millimeter socket, which is just a little bit smaller than the outside of that little valve body there, and that allows me to pull that valve back into place where it needs to go. Then I can make sure it stays where it needs to be. And then I take this little bitty roll pin, tap it back into place. Let me make sure it's flush here. The clamp, and we're done with all that stuff. So off to the side. So now my valve should be in good shape. So now the next thing is got one of these little O-rings that was left over from one of my other jobs that I did. I think it was actually my model 101. I did not need to put new seals all inside of it. All it needed was a pump cup, and it was good to go. So far anyway, so but I've had other jobs that I've put together and didn't need all the seals for too, so it's not the only one that I had seals left over for. So we'll get that. But it was a little bit too large in diameter, so I just used my razor knife and trimmed a little bit off around the outside edge of it. But looks like a really nice urethane seal. She's seated in there real nice. I think that'll be a really good seal for this guy here. So now getting it all back together is pretty simple. There's a little bitty rubber seal that goes on the valve. Well, let me get the valve sitting in place first, I guess. This actually seals the barrel to the valve. Looks like it's sitting in the right place. So this one's a little bit different than the other one that I had repaired. On the other one, there was actually a little bitty compression spring right in here for the trigger return spring. This one actually has a little, kind of a folded little assembly there that it's actually a little bit, it looks like it'd be a little easier to manage here. But these are just like the ultimate in simplicity though, as far, that's the whole valve body there. This is the hammer that pulls forward. This is the sear attached to the trigger, locks into that. When you pull the trigger, that hammer flies back and hits that valve and lets a shot of CO2 go through the barrel. I don't know why Daisy and Crosman felt it so necessary to make everything so stinking complicated. These things work great. And then, so there's just 3 screws. Hold the whole body together. This is just cast aluminum, so don't be too, if you do end up doing something like this, don't get too aggressive with these screws. They just need to be snug. Okay, so before I get too far more along, I just want to actually cock it and just make sure that's working okay. Pellet probe works fine. So the next step is to put the front sight and muzzle back on. And that uses a, what is that, a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. Goes right in the top of the sight here. And the disassembly is just the opposite of it. So if you do end up working on one, the only real caution I could suggest to you is, well, a couple of them. If yours is like that one, I don't know if that's older or this one's older, but if yours has the compression spring, that can go flying. So you want to, when you're pulling that body off, you want to kind of hold your thumb down here to kind of keep that from going flying. And then we have our rear sight here, which just kind of sits over top of this. There's the rear sight like base here, and then the actual adjustable rear sight sits on top of that, and then there's little flat blade grub screws that hold that in place. And from what I've heard, a lot of the guns you'll find out in the world, that is missing because that's the only thing that holds it on, is the windage adjustment screws that can loosen up and just disappear. All right, so it's all back together. Let me grab another CO2 cartridge and see if we fixed it. Again, we want to throw a little drop of oil on the top of the CO2 cartridge. Helps get some oil up into the whole mechanism there and lubricate everything. So you want to be kind of fast with when you pierce this to get it in and get it sealed. We'll lose a little bit when. So right now I'm just listening to hear. I don't hear any hissing. It's shooting. Let me so I can put my. So I'm glad this one has the actual clip on there, so I can look around and see if I can find one, something to replace the one on my other one, which is right here. That one was missing, so it had, somebody had put a couple of magnets in there. They were pretty weak, and I glued another one in there just for time being. That's a rare earth magnet, and that does a really good job of holding it on there. But I'm either gonna look around and see if I can find a fixer-upper or whatever that I can. I'll try to put that on there upside down. I know there's a bunch of other guns that have similar grips that go on. I wonder if I can find a junker that has that clip on there to put into that one. The little tab's still there that holds that on there, so if I can get one and put it on there and then just kind of peen it out, it should be good. But all right, I know I made this one kind of long, but let's just bring us up here to eye level here for a minute, and we'll just throw a couple pellets downrange, and then we'll wrap her up. So again, like I showed you guys on the other one, you rotate this counterclockwise, pull that back. Now this pellet port is pretty small, so you got to be, I'm using my wad cutters there, which are pretty short, so I think anything longer than that's not going to fit in there. So probably pointed, maybe domed pellets won't fit in there. Shooting nice now. I don't believe it's bleeding any off. We'll be able to tell in the morning when if it's still got any life left in it. Shooting really good. Next thing I'll do is run it across the crony, but I won't keep you guys on for that. We'll talk about that later when we do a nice review on this guy. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it is a little bit long. It's a good little how-to though. How to replace the seal, and at least the main CO2 seal. So far I haven't found one. I only got 2 of them. Only 2 I've ever seen, other than the one that the other guy did a video on. And the internal valve seal looks to be in good shape on both of these. So, but there you go, my 2 Acro ones. This one's in, come on, where you at? This one's in 177, and this one's in 22. Sorry, I can't get that to focus on there, but pretty cool. Repaired both of them now. Both shooting good. So anyway, hope you liked the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified when I do post up new videos. But until next time, have a great day.